Right, I've just been through this hive. The bees are a little bit feisty, but hey ho. So I found the queen. Queen's in there. She's laying. It's better to probably film after sometimes, unless I find a queen cell, something like that. I'm being stung at the moment. Whoa! But this is part of I've got this hive. This is packed solid, absolutely packed solid. So what I've done is I've given the queen more room to lay up here. So I don't know if I should move some of these framers up to here, but I'll just explain. Normally you have this box, this is the brood box, and then you have this wire thing called a queen excluder. That normally goes here, and then you put this box, which is called a super, on top. So just in case you didn't understand the purpose of this, the little bees, the little nurse bees, they just fit straight through the bars. So if you see a few of them will just crawl in and out, those ones there going in and out, going in and out. The queen obviously can't fit through. So what you don't want, you don't want the queen. I'm allowing the queen to come up to here. They're drawing all these frames out for her to start laying in. But what I don't want, if I didn't have this queen excluder on, and I put this super on, which is where all the honey gets stored, the queen would come up into if this was the super and start laying eggs in there, and obviously we don't want to consume things with bees in and cells and like sealed cells and eggs and stuff. So the whole point is they merrily will, when there's like a flow on, a honey flow as it's called, they find a source of forage where there's lots and lots of nectar. The spare nectar, which they don't store down here for their own first initial colony use, they'll come up here and they'll store it in the super, and they'll climb through these bars, and then they'll just store all that beautiful honey here. And this is purely honey. There's nothing else in there. So that's what that's for. Another thing, we were talking about this last week. This is a natural form of pest control. You have a mite called varroa, and the varroa brings a lot of disease, and different ailments can happen to the bees. So a natural form of pest control, this is drone, and what they do is the drones take the longest to hatch, so the varroa prefer the drone cells. They're like the thicker cells, as I was saying, like the big juicy grubs in there. So what they do is these little mites, they burrow themselves into the drone cells when they're capped, because the drones don't hatch until after the nurse bees. So the drones don't hatch for 24 days. So obviously the pests can be left alone and protected inside the cell. And unfortunately it spreads a lot of disease. You do treat at the end of the season chemically. There are different ways of doing it naturally, but just a natural form of protecting the bees against disease is to just cut this comb off, because I know that if I opened up these cells, there'd be little tiny mites in there. So I'm going to take this home and I'll do a little film of giving this to my chickens. And it's almost like if a chicken could have a surprised look on its face, which is doubt it can, but if it can, it can't believe it when it pulls out a great big, it's almost like a big witchetty grub in its eyes. And they yank out these grubs, and they think, wow, this is all right. So I'll shake these little few bees off, and they'll go back into the hive. So all right, so this one's all good. You need to keep a cool head when you're beekeeping. If the bees are getting slightly upset, which is justifiable, but you need to keep a cool head. I've been stung on the knee. All the bees started flying. This is my kind of I don't think it's feisty anymore, but there's a lot of bees in there. So once one starts coming up, they all start coming up. Sometimes when you get stung is because a bee would have, when it stings you, it puts a little bit of pheromone on you, and it's like just a signal for where the rest of the bees can go. If you look at in my glove, there's a sting. There's another sting there, but I've got one in my knee. It's gone in my knee, so you know, which is fair enough. But but you just got to keep a cool head. You're just coated in bees. There's no time to be trying to make a little film or panicking and running away and all this kind of stuff. You know, just cool head. They're not bothered about you, but they're very upset that the roof's been taken off their house. The queen's being disturbed. All the frames are being lifted out. But you need to do it. I found a couple of cells I had to rip down. But other than that, all good. I'm hoping, because this is packed, I'm hoping that all these brand new bees will move up. And I'm hoping that the queen will move up as well. If she doesn't, then I'm going to put some of these new frames down below and then force them up by putting some of the old frames up here. But we'll do that next week. All right.